YouTube, what the Krell is going on? How did Krell get in the middle of 6 Hands of the Shadow Crown? Some of you may be even asking, what is a Hand of the Shadow Crown? Well, that's a good question. I've got an awesome 4v4 setup for you today. This is going to be base factions in the game, so like the 8 factions that shipped with each of the 2 games, versus DLC factions. So that is the theme for the 4v4. It is campaign units enabled. There are no unit caps, so as you can see, things are going to get crazy and be a whole lot of fun. I played this with some folks on the Discord recently and am excited to show it to you. Before we do that, I am recording this on the new computer that I built via my sponsor with MSI, just to show you all that you don't have to break the bank to play and record your own content. So go check it out if you're interested. Let's continue with the battle. We're going to be seeing something very entertaining today. So as for the base factions, this is the team I'm playing on. We're going to have Avalorn. Yeah, I know it was a DLC faction, but High Elves are a base faction in the game, so we let Regina get away with Avalorn. We've got Lizardmen, Vampire Counts, the Empire, and High Elves over here on the base factions. And then as for the DLC factions, we've got Norska, Wood Elves, Tomb Kings, and Bretonnia. Bretonnia was kind of one that was on the fence for us because they were free LC, but kind of DLC. So in any case, Bretonnia, I think, could go either way. So what did we do? So my team here is going to be interesting. As for leadership, we've got Alariel for the High Elves, we've got Krokgar for the Lizardmen, and we have Karl Franz for the Empire. And then we've got Vlad von Karstein for the Vampires. He is right back there. But up front, yes, this is 6 Hands of the Shadow Crown. This is like a special Waystalker type unit that has really good armor-piercing missile damage and some special abilities. Regina's spamming these for anti-single entity control, basically. And then Krell is right there with him just because, why not? We thought it would be funny. Now, the Lizardmen are holding the front line. They have a whole bunch of blessed Saurus warriors, I should say. And then Krokgar and Kroak are supporting them, so Deliverance of Itza will be a thing. The Vampires are secondary infantry support. They have a bunch of zombies. And, of course, Krell's supporting up front. Vlad and a White King are supporting further back here. And then there are Graveguard and Sylvanian handgunners supporting in the rear lines. And then as for my role in the battle, I am taking Karl and a Jade Wizard as flying cavalry and will be supporting the actual cavalry. And on this flank over here, I am rocking some cool units here. I've got the Knights of the Everlasting Light, which is a magic damage Empire Knight, I always forget whether it's Reichsguard. It's an Empire Knight. And then I have a Stubborn Bull Empire Knight, which is more like a questing knight. We've got the Knights of Moor. They have an inspiring presence where you won't have fear or terror for any units nearby. And then I have the Royal Altdorf Griffites. And then on the other flank, I have a similar composition, just Demigryph Knights with halberds. And then there is a Knight of the Everlasting Light and a Stubborn Bull supporting. And then, of course, there's the Fell Bats here for the Vampire Counts and the Frostheart Phoenix supporting Alariel, along with the very small army of just a light mage. And we've got the 6 Hands of the Shadow Crown there. Now, as for the DLC factions, Norska is going to be playing the frontline infantry role. And we all kind of took these roles, but it wasn't actually a rule in the battle. We just kind of did it. Norska is going to be led by Wulfric and his overly large shield there. That is an enormous shield. He's in his chariot, and he's supported by a shaman sorcerer, Lord of Fire. And then up front, he has a mix of Marauder champions, Marauder berserkers, and a couple of marauders. So a pretty heavy infantry line from Norska, and it is backed up by an ice. Is it a Norskin giant? Yeah, Norskin giant. Almost said ice giant. Not quite. We have a Waystalker here for the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves are playing the range support role. Down the main line, they have several units of Glade Guard, varying between Hagbane tips and Starfire shafts. There are also a couple of Deepwood Scouts that are working the flanks, and they are Vanguard deployed. And then way back here, we have the Hawkeyes of Drakira and a single Waywatcher, as well as a Glady on a dragon, and she is supported by a Spellsinger, Lore of Life. And then as for the Tomb Kings, they are the artillery support, led by none other than Grand Hierophant Ketep, looking particularly amazing. He's got 2 Bone Daddies, one on either side supporting him. There is a Tomb Guard with Halberd, and some Skeleton Spearmen on the flanks, along with one more Casket of Souls on either flank. So definitely a hard-hitting ranged punch there. And then as for the cavalry, King Lewin is going to be leading that charge with Bretonnia. He is here on Beaky. And then on this flank, there's a ton of Knights of the Realm and Knights Errant mixed together, many units of them. And then on the other flank, there's a similar composition, but among them are some questing knights and also a Grail Guardian, which is going to be really good against unarmored targets. We're just grinding out in a melee. And then Norska does have some Skin Wolves out there supporting them. So this fight is going to get started quickly, and I want you to see it and kind of see how things play out early. Obviously, the threat from the Hand of the Shadow Crown brigade there, or the council as I called them, is going to be massive. Now, the artillery advantage will go to the Tomb Kings, no doubt here. They are going to be launching from long range and able to do severe damage to any infantry. You can see that that will light up here at any moment. There goes Hierophant Katep, and he was actually auto-targeted on Krell at the moment. And I want you all to see the Hands of the Shadow Crown's range here, so you can see they're just now coming into range of Wulfric, and Wulfric will be their first target. Look at the damage here, 355. There's heavy armor piercing. Oh boy, yikes. Yeah, Wulfric's gone. So if you ever see this, the rest of your single entity units should immediately flee. Wulfric got KO'd immediately in this fight. And some of you might be like, that's cheap, that's cheese. Yeah, no, we're just playing for fun here. I do intend to play some more 4v4 battles soon, where we will be doing a more tabletop type rule set, and that'll be fun. But again, it's fun to play these because it just gives you unlimited freedom on how to play. And so that's really what we wanted here tonight. You can see that the Casket of Souls are repaying some of the favor by really damaging up some of the Blessed Saurus warriors. I've got some Knights of the Everlasting Light chasing down these Deepwood scouts. And then on the other flank, I'm just kind of scouting the forest. I see Bretonnia moving in with Lewin. So I've got my cavalry, my Jade Wizard, and Carl ready to protect. And then the mainline forces are closing the distance while the Hands of the Shadow Crown continue to pummel single entity targets. And Grand Hierophant Katep was the recipient of just said love, and he is fleeing for his unlife right now. He is in a very bad shape, and you can see over here that the Spell Singer is hit next. So at this point, our opponents have figured out, all right, it's time to back up, and we've got to put some pressure on those Shadow Crowns. So they are targeting them with the Bone Giants, and one of them has actually taken some pretty substantial hits. Katep, however, is back under the ground now, and here comes the infantry engagement. It is supported by Croak immediately with the Grand Shield of the Old Ones, and then a Deliverance of Itza. And the Bone Giant comes into support too, but this Deliverance hits home beautifully and just nukes a huge section of Norscan troops, and a second one is called in near immediately over here, and it's also going to put down a big pummeling, but a clutch play here by Norska as he pulls back his troops and saves a huge number of his men. While all that was happening, Carl and the Fellbats tied down Lewin into an awful bat soup here where he is stuck and being hit by Galmaraz, and he is not going to live long. And then the cavalry fight has begun proper with the Altdorf Griffites chewing through their targets, and then the rest of my Empire Knights engaging. I've got my Stubborn Bulls and Knights of the Everlasting Light. These fights may swing one way or the other, but Krokgar is coming over to help support. However, Krok is going to become the target of a lot of unwanted attention from some archers and also the Glady on her dragon. Now, if we go back and take a look at the main infantry line, in some places, the enemy has been broken. There was a Wind of Death through the archer line that did some good damage on some Glade Guard, but missed some of the others, so the Vampire player doing that. The Hands of the Shadow Crown being run off by a flame storm at the moment. Just a desperation attempt to keep them away at this point, and you can see the Bretonnian cavalry and the Skin Wolves are chewing through me on my left flank and pushing towards the Sylvanian handgunners. The Claw of Nagash is going to try and intercept them, and there is a crazy fight. Fortunately for us, the elimination of Wulfric early on obviously played a big role. See, some of these infantry fights, like right here, these Marauder champions holding up like absolute beast here, and they are doing a spectacular job, but there are other places where the line collapsed under the weight of the Blessed Saurus warriors. Marauder Berserkers will not hold the line versus Saurus warriors, much less Blessed ones, and so now the Wood Elves are sending in their reserve infantry and attempting to stave that off, while now the Forest Dragon becomes the center of attention and being chased by several units. it is looking ugly for the Glady as she tries to get away desperately, but she does have some great archer support here. Sepulchral Stalkers being moved to the flank by the Tomb Kings in order to try and stop the cavalry dominance that's now been won by the Empire. However, Bretonnia pushing their dominance on this flank, and they have pushed in deep here, going after the Claw of Nagash, which is in serious trouble now because of the Grail Guardians, and they are going to need some support here in order for the vampires to live through this one. The Claw of Nagash does a lot of damage, but honestly, Grail Guardians are going to tank pretty hard here, and they deal magic damage too, which will be somewhat dangerous for the Claw of Nagash if they start landing hits on it. So that fight gets very bogged down, and you can see over here, Karl has decided to dive into some archers and get mixed up in some archer mess. He will end up regretting this because he's taking fire from multiple directions, and while the Grail Guardians were bogged down, Kroak isn't done yet, folks. He's back. He drops another massive Deliverance of Itza, which leaves the Grail Guardians reeling and routs the Questing Knights. And so Kroak has been an absolute clutch for our team, and that's despite the fact that the Hands of the Shadow Crown are running around occupying the attention of the enemy and causing friendly fire, as well as some tremendous damage elsewhere. You can see Karl now routing, and the Sepulchral Stalkers are rolling in. The Hands of the Shadow Crown trying to pick at them. And then here comes Krokgar, Alariel, the Frostheart Phoenix, and what's left of my cavalry contingent, because that cavalry fight over there got wrapped up by the vampires quite nicely. So, able to keep things going. I'm trying to keep Karl healed, but he is continuing to be the object of affection by the Wood Elves there. As far as the infantry fight goes, Norska is running out of options. There's very little left. Their giant has tried hard, but he's up against Krell and Vlad and a lot of enemies, and some of the Berserkers have held on for a long time too, and Kroak is just not finished. Blows up another pile of enemy infantry here around the White King and just beautifully delivers even more to the cause of Itza here. He has just been absolutely monstrous. And with all these Hands of the Shadow Crown left, it is not looking good for the enemy. There's another nice Tempest here by Alariel. Karl Franz will be limited in anything else he does, and these Sepulchral Stalkers put up a heck of a fight, but just overmatched. They just can't hold it together here, and so the damage is going to be done, and the enemy troops are put to army loss rout in a pretty fun and epic, fast-paced 4v4 here. I'll be playing some more of these 4v4s. If you'd like to participate, go join up in the Discord. These were all folks off the Discord. I kind of just go on, I'll make an announcement that tags everyone. Everybody who's in the Discord is free to come join in the voice chat, even if you don't make it into the actual match. Sometimes I'll stream it while we're recording it and stuff, just so people can see what's going on. It's a fun place to hang out and have a good time if you want to. Of course, that choice is always up to you. But hey, appreciate By the Jesus, Holy Pilgrim, Regina, No Game, No Life, Zarcastic, Stormrunner, and the Tomb King who shall not be named. Let's take a look at how each army played their role in this battle. I didn't do a lot, honestly. Like I put down Lewin and some cavalry on our right flank, but I don't think I contributed a ton to this other than trying to help heal Krokgar and keep him in the fight. By the Jesus, honestly, really did some serious MVP type work here, outside of the obviously great Lord sniping that Regina provided here. By the Jesus' infantry did a ton of killing, and Kroak did a tremendous amount of work as well, so he did a great job. Holy Pilgrim getting some kills with that Wind of Death from Vlad and helping to support By the Jesus with his vampire infantry. The handgunners became actually really good bait to lure in and help kill the remainder of the Bretonnian cavalry around the Claw of Nagash, but then that also kind of falls back to Kroak because he helped drop a bomb on them while the vampires had them pinned. And Regina, of course, knocking out Wulfric, knocking out Ktep, and most of the Spellsinger's energy, and also most of the Shaman Sorcerer's hit points, so a considerable contribution to the fight, even with just 9 units deployed on the battlefield and 0 losses, so everybody's going home. How do you like that? Lewin just got caught in a bad spot. There was very little he could do about it. It was a difficult spot, and his cavalry, though successful on my left flank, ended up running into that vampire quagmire with the support of Kroak and just wasn't able to cut through. Zarcastic did a good job holding the infantry line for as long as he did, especially considering the fact that Wulfric got KO'd almost immediately. The Shaman Sorcerer managed to pick up 106 kills despite taking all that damage early, and a few of the infantry units, like I pointed out here, did really well. If he would have had more Marauder champions overall, this would have been a considerably more difficult fight for us, though, of course, Kroak was making some big holes in that line, and the loss of a lord early like that is difficult to survive. And then, of course, Stormrunner with the range support. Some of my cavalry ran his guys down early and made it difficult, but he did get some really good damage despite the kill numbers here on Karl Franz, which won't show up in the kill feed per se, but does make a big difference. Plus, he could have been hitting on other large targets as well that that also would not show up in the kill feed. Excuse me, it's allergy time. No, I don't have coronavirus. And no, it's not the virus making me say that. So the Tomb Kings here just really got hurt early with Katep getting knocked out, of course, and the Bone Giants got just really hurt also by the Hand of the Shadow Crown, and then ended up having to try and support infantry fights. Though you can see one of them picked up a chevron of XP here, and that's likely due to the damage that it was doing to one of these Shadow Crown units. One of the caskets also picks up some XP. One of these had been firing into a lot of expensive cavalry. It very well could have been this one, though the kill numbers aren't really high. Sometimes you can still pick up experience by the amount of damage done on a valuable target. So what do you all think? This is the $1,000 tax return PC I recorded all this on. I thought it did an amazing job, and I'll bet you can't really tell a whole lot of difference between this and my my regular PC. This was running on 1440p high settings. I'll just show that to you all real quick. If you want to see the graphics settings this was running on right now, it's running really well. Don't have to break the bank to play Warhammer on fantastic settings. I mean, I could drop down to 1080p and run this on Ultra, or if I'm not worried about it being at a constant 60 frames a second, I could probably run it on 1440p Ultra for the most part. You're just going to get bogged down in some of the bigger battles, and it really just depends on the experience the player's looking for. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty epic. You don't have to spend $2,000 or $3,000 to have a ridiculous computer like mine to play Warhammer well. You can do it just like this. I'm loving this. Appreciate MSI making the sponsorship of this channel possible, and thank you all for being here. There's a bunch of you watching these videos who aren't subscribed, and that's fine. Feel free to stay. I like you being here. If you want to see more and you want to make sure you don't miss it, hit that subscribe button. Plus, it helps out, helps other people find their way to the channel. Hope to see you again on more videos. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you soon.